Hello, today I will be reviewing Bless Me Ultima by Rudolfo Anaya. So this book is a classic. It's talked about a lot, and I think a lot of younger people are encouraged to read it. So it's very, very interesting. It's about a young boy named Antonio, or Tony, and he lives in New Mexico, and it's kind of a story about him growing up and dealing with the multiple cultures that surround him. He lives with his mother and father, who are both very tied to certain ways of living that are kind of oppositional. And then early in the story, he's introduced to the figure of Ultima, which is kind of like a grandmother, but she's like an old woman who's a healer of sorts, who kind of has a link to her own spirituality. So the novel is very much concerned with Tony's navigation and negotiation of what it means to be a Catholic, but to also appreciate and respect the spirituality and the abilities of Ultima. There are aspects of magical realism that are in this book that are really interesting that I wasn't warned about. Not that you need to be warned, but I always kind of enjoy magic realism, and there are a few instances of it in here. There's more than a few. There's a lot, which is also really interesting because you can see kind of this link whenever you read like a lot of Latin American literature, for instance, Garcia Marquez, a little bit in Zapata, not too much, and then you get like I know Borges has some magic realism, and I know other Mexican writers do as well. So it was interesting to see kind of like this Chicano writer bringing that in as like this kind of overarching kind of cultural literary style. That might have been a really ignorant statement. It's hard for me to tell. Anyway, it's a really interesting story. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely like a slow-burning story. It's not super exciting, but it is very interesting. As Tony, the only problem I have is that he's like 6 years old, and they keep telling him, like, you're about to be a man. I was like, okay. Like, he's 6. Like, I get it if he were 10 even, like 12 maybe. Like, okay, totally fine. Like, you know, I think a kid's still a kid until they're 18. And even then, sometimes I've met some people, I'm like, you're a kid. And they're like 20, 28. But I think 6 is fairly young. Like, for most people, I think would agree that, like, you're not really going to consider someone a man when they're 8 years old. But a different time. Anyway, sorry. So that kind of took me out of it. But I just would kind of make myself forget that he was 6 and think of him as being a little older. Which helped the story. But yeah, Tony, he kind of negotiates between his mother and his father and their different families, and what those families' legacies mean to him, as well as this kind of religious negotiation. So it's totally a story about one boy trying to form his identity in a world where you have all these different cultures and spiritualities and legacies being mixed, and essentially fusing the best parts of these belief systems together. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil the narrative of it, but it's very interesting. There's magic, there's like witchcraft in it. There's a lot of stuff about the beauty of the land. It's very well written. It's very entertaining, and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3 stars because I could see why it didn't. I forget what I gave it actually. That's really bad. I should remember. So it could be anywhere between a 3 and a 4-star book, but I think 3. I think I gave it 3 because I really appreciate it and I enjoyed reading it, but I'm still kind of lukewarm. It didn't really give me moments where it blew me away. So anyway, that's what I have to say about Bless Me Ultima. Sorry, I got a little rambly. I'm doing a few reviews today because I need to catch up. I have a lot of books I've finished real quick, so I'm trying to like do it before I forget what I wanted to say about each one. So I appreciate watching. Comment below, and as always, thanks for see, I'm losing it. As always, have a good life and happy reading.